Have you ever nodded yes when your entire soul was shouting no? Smiled to smooth things over, while inside you were falling apart. Maybe you're drained, bone-tired, but the reason escapes you. There's a kind of pain that leaves no scars. A quiet, gnawing ache that's hard to pin down. It creeps in when you start abandoning yourself. Day after day. One small compromise at a time. You do what's expected. You soften your tone. Pick your words carefully. Bury your true feelings. All to avoid rocking the boat. To not let anyone down. To be liked. You mold yourself to fit. And for a while it seems to work. People warm to you. You're dependable, agreeable, steady. But beneath this carefully crafted facade, a hollow space begins to form. A subtle unease grows. A sense that some vital part of you is slipping away, smothered. Carl Jung called this facade the persona. It's a mask we all wear, a necessary shield to move through the world, to function in society. But the danger comes when you stop wearing the mask and start becoming it. When you forget there's a real person underneath, with raw desires that don't conform, with anger that isn't polite, with thoughts that don't please everyone. When this happens, something inside you starts to crack. You feel it, but can't name it, like you're living someone else's script, an actor in a play with no final curtain. This isn't about throwing out all social rules, or becoming a reckless outlier. It's about something deeper, noticing when the drive to be accepted is pulling you further from who you truly are. It's about pausing to see that you've been living more to please than to truly exist. And trust me, this kind of self-betrayal has a price. It shows up as anxiety, as a crisis of self, as resentments you can't trace, as a quiet, heavy sadness that lingers without explanation. Here we'll face this head-on. We'll unpack what Jung revealed about the dance between the ego, the persona, and the unconscious. We'll dig into why the urge to please isn't just a quirk, but a sign you're drifting from your core. And most importantly, we'll explore the path back to yourself. This is a mirror, maybe even a jolt to your system. But if you're here, some part of you already knows. You can't keep going like this. So take a deep breath. This journey might shake the ground beneath everything you thought you were. From an early age, you learn to play the part, to hide your emotions to spare others, to tame your impulses to seem selfless, to smile when you wanted to vanish. You learned that acceptance meant being convenient, so you sculpted a version of yourself that fits the world's mold, a persona. Jung described it as a psychic construct, a character we build to engage with the world. It's useful, even essential. It lets us work, connect, coexist. But the trouble starts when you stop seeing the persona as a tool and start believing it's you. You act calm when you're raging inside. You become the one who's always there, always helpful, always composed, because that's the role others expect. But every time you pretend you're fine when you're not, every time you swallow your anger to avoid a fight, every time you say it's okay when it's anything but, a piece of you is silenced. These small betrayals add up. They create fractures. Over time, the real you starts to fade. You don't know what you want anymore. Your feelings blur. Your choices feel automatic, driven by others' expectations, not your own beliefs or desires. The persona stops being a mask and becomes a cage. The cruelest part? On the outside, everything looks perfect. You're praised, trusted, admired, functional, even joyful. But inside, something vital is slipping away. The mask has fused to your skin, and you don't know how to peel it off without losing everything you've built. But ask yourself, is this image worth sacrificing you? How many times have you stayed quiet to dodge a confrontation? How many times have you regretted saying yes? How many times have you smiled outwardly while screaming within? The truth is, the persona should never run your life. When you cling too tightly to this role, you become a shadow of yourself. Over time, this disconnects you from the living spark at your core. And at that point, something inside you starts to push back. This push has a name: internal conflict. In the next part, we'll dive into this silent battle between the ego and the unconscious and uncover what happens when you live out of sync with your truth. Let's keep going. If this is resonating with you, hit the subscribe button and join the channel. Thank you for being here. There's a war raging inside you, and the battlefield is hidden. On one side stands the ego, the conscious part of you that craves approval, stability, belonging. It's the ego that polishes your social image, fears rejection, and fights to keep everything under control. On the other side is the unconscious, deep, untamed, uncompromising. It demands authenticity. While the ego works to keep the persona intact, the unconscious starts to stir. It doesn't speak in clear words. It sends cryptic signals, vague unease, sudden waves of emotion, physical sensations with no cause. You're anxious for no reason, irritated by trivial things, tired even after rest, sad when everything seems fine. These are the first whispers of a soul being ignored. Jung taught that when the ego strays too far from the psyche's whole, the unconscious steps in to restore balance. It's like an internal scale, tipping to correct the lie. But if you keep pushing the persona, the unconscious pushes back harder, with what Jung called the shadow. When ignored, the shadow doesn't vanish. It seeps into your habits, your relationships, your self-sabotaging choices, your constant sense of being unmoored. This inner clash creates a chronic strain. You try to hold it all together, but something always slips. You do what's right, but feel hollow. You act as expected, but beneath it, anger simmers, not at others but at yourself. Every time you betray your truth for acceptance, you let yourself down. This pain doesn't hit all at once. It builds quietly, eroding your energy from within. It's a slow corrosion of the soul. The worst part? This struggle is invisible. Others see you and think you're fine. You smile, work, manage, but inside you're losing track of what you feel. You only know something's wrong, and you can't keep pretending it's not. You could ignore these signs, call it just a phase, keep adapting. But the cost is steep. A life without authenticity, without purpose, without soul. There's a reason this pattern takes hold, and why some are more prone to it. People who live for others, who feel guilty for having needs, who erase themselves without noticing. Jung identified a psychological type, especially vulnerable to this trap. In the next part, we'll explore this type and see if it mirrors you, and why this insight might be the key to breaking free. Let's move forward. Not everyone navigates the world the same way. Jung showed that each of us has a unique psychic makeup, shaped by how we perceive and decide. Among these types, one is particularly prone to pleasing others, the extroverted feeling type. For them, connection isn't just a want, it's a need. Harmony with others feels like emotional survival. They walk into a room and instantly tune into what others feel, think, expect. They adjust their behavior to please, to avoid tension, to secure acceptance. This might look like empathy or kindness, but when it's extreme, and it often is, it becomes a breeding ground for self-betrayal. This type lives for approval. Their inner compass wavers, constantly aligning with external values, even when those clash with their truth. They might defend ideas they don't believe, stay in relationships that drain them, endure situations that harm them, all to keep up the image of being good. Their question isn't what do I want, but what do they need from me? This reversal leads to collapse. No one can please everyone, and every rejection, every criticism, feels like an attack on their core. The danger is, they often don't see their own betrayal. They're on autopilot, addicted to being needed, loved, accepted. They mistake being useful for being valued. Without the role of helpful or understanding, they feel worthless, as if their existence needs justification. But this isn't just about one type. Every time you say yes to avoid conflict, every time you hide your opinion to dodge rejection, every time you downplay your pain to not burden others, you're caught in the same trap, believing acceptance trumps authenticity. This game has a cost, and your unconscious will sound the alarm. Not with words, but with symbols, dreams, compulsions, symptoms that defy logic. It's trying to show you what you've refused to see. In the next part, we'll decode these hidden signals and learn how the unconscious fights to bring you back to your truth. Get ready to go deeper. The unconscious doesn't speak in straight lines. It doesn't use logic or clear warnings. Communicates through images, impulses, symbols, sensations, recurring patterns. When you live out of alignment with your truth, the unconscious doesn't stay quiet. It tries to restore balance. But most of us aren't taught to listen. These signals might come as vivid dreams. You're exposed in public, chased, silenced, trapped in a place you can't escape. These aren't random. They're coded messages, symbols of a psyche under strain. Being exposed might mean your true self is breaking through. Being chased, the pressure of the persona. Silence, your stifled voice. A trap, a life that no longer feels like yours. Other signals show up in your body. Pains with no cause, constant exhaustion, panic, shortness of breath, sleeplessness. The body, tied to the psyche, protests too. When symbols are ignored, the unconscious turns to physical cries, a last-ditch effort to snap you out of autopilot. Then there are behaviors. You say you're fine, but you overeat, overspend, scroll endlessly, pile on tasks to avoid silence. Because in silence, you hear your soul, and it has things to say. Facing it hurts. It hurts to see you've built a life that doesn't match who you are. It hurts to admit your choices came from fear. Fear of being unloved, of disappointing, of being cast out. But ignoring these signals doesn't make them fade. The more you resist, the louder they get. The psyche won't tolerate inauthenticity forever. It demands wholeness. If you refuse your truth, it will force you to face it, even if it means shattering your world. Jung said the unconscious compensates. When the ego leans too far into pleasing, the unconscious pushes back with dreams, urges to break free, crises that confront you with your shadow. As scary as this feels, it's also healing. From this breakdown, you can rebuild from the inside out. But this takes more than understanding. It demands a deep transformation, what Jung called individuation. In the next part, we'll explore this process, what it means, why it's painful yet freeing, and how it can release you from the persona's grip without destroying what you've built. Let's walk toward wholeness together. If this is hitting home, check out my ebook Beyond the Shadow. It unpacks Jung's ideas and offers tools to know yourself better. Link in the pinned comment. There comes a point when pleasing others costs too much. You see that no matter how hard you try to uphold the perfect image, something inside is breaking. The exhaustion isn't just physical, it's existential. The emptiness isn't fleeting, it's a constant ache. The sense of living a stranger's life becomes unbearable. This is where individuation begins. For Jung, individuation isn't a luxury, it's a psychic necessity. It's the soul's journey toward wholeness, embracing every part of you, the parts you've denied, repressed, or buried to fit in. It's not about discarding the persona, but about loosening its hold, realizing you're more than the role you play, that there's a deeper self behind the mask. This isn't easy. It means facing what you've hidden, the frustrations you swallowed, the desires you ignored, the fears you dressed up as duty. It means meeting your shadow, the parts you don't want to claim, your contradictions, your raw impulses, your anger, pride, neediness, everything you hide, even from yourself. Individuation demands courage to defy others' expectations, to disappoint those who want you to stay the same, to trade shallow praise for inner truth. Feels lonely at first, but it's liberating. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being whole. You see, you're made of opposites, light and dark, strength and fragility. By embracing this, you stop living for others' approval. You start living from within. Here's the hardest truth. You might lose people. You might lose status, ease, control. But what you gain is priceless. Your soul, your voice, a connection to something inside. That doesn't need anyone's validation. Individuation is this bold return to your truth, choosing, with all its pain and beauty, to live from your core, not from others' reflections. It's a long, messy, transformative road, the only true path to freedom. Because as long as you're just the persona, you're chained to an image, and images aren't alive. But what happens when you start living as you? How do you face the world? Without the mask, the role, the armor? What lies between the pain of letting go and the peace of rediscovery? In the final part, we'll explore this truth, one that terrifies but also sets you free. Let's go to the end, which, like all deep endings, is also a beginning. You might feel something stirring now, a mix of relief and unease. This makes sense, but it's uncomfortable to face. That discomfort means something's shifting. If you've come this far, you're not the same as when you started. Truth, once seen, doesn't slip away quietly. You're not here to meet others' expectations. You didn't come to play a part, to please unseen crowds, to collect praise while silencing your soul. You're here to live, authentically, wholly, rooted in your own truth, even if it costs you approval, friendships, stability, because what you lose was never truly yours, and what you gain is everything. The persona can shield you, give you a place in the world, but it can't give you peace. Peace comes from within, from aligning what you feel, think, believe, and live. This peace, this deep harmony, only comes when you stop betraying yourself. Freedom isn't others' approval. It's approving of yourself, looking in the mirror, mask off, and saying, I'm here, for me, no matter what. This choice, to stand by yourself, is a quiet revolution. It doesn't happen overnight. It grows through small steps, Moments like this. So if this moved you, if it spoke to your soul,
Comment below?
share what's stirring in you. Give voice to what's awakening.